Namaste. Welcome to Heritage Stories and Performing Arts. I'm Sarita Nair, founder of HSPA, and you are watching Itihaas Ke Pannon Se, Episode 7, Season 4. On Itihaas Ke Pannon Se, we bring to you stories of unsung heroes from different parts of India. And today's story comes to you from Uttar Pradesh. This place, as we mentioned in our promo video, with clues for you to guess the name, this ancient place has a mention in the Mahabharata as one of the 5 villages that Lord Krishna asked the Kauravas to hand over to the Pandavas in order to avoid the war. The answer for that is Vyaghraprastha, which is Bagpat today. Let me share the names of the other villages with you as well. Sonprastha, that's Sonipat. Panprastha, that's Panipat. Tilprastha, that's Faridabad. And Kandavprastha, that's Delhi. Thank you, Vikramjit Singh Group Rai, for sharing this information with us. This place later on was renamed by the Mughals as Bagpat. And bringing the story of an unsung hero who was born in Bagpat is C. Mangalam Senthil, who's joining us from Coimbatore. Let me share a little bit about Mangalam. Mangalam is a story enthusiast, a performance storyteller, a TEDx speaker, an NLP practitioner, a Kolam fanatic, counselor, a Philomath, and tells stories under the banner of KathaKuteeram. She strongly believes that everyone enters into the world of beautiful possibilities with stories. She believes everyone, everywhere, is telling stories all the time. She's vibrant when she shares or listens to stories and enjoys trekking, singing, drawing columns, running, doing calligraphy, or learning something new. So she's an engineer by education, a trainer by passion, and a storyteller from heart. So over to you, Mangalam. Welcome to Itihaas Ke Pannon Se. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Fuzzy Wuzzy, and I am an investigative journalist. So today, I would like to share something with you which I found which was very interesting. So let's go and talk to Pedama right away. You ask, who Pedama? Oh, Pedama means grandmother in Telugu. And today we are going to be meeting Pedama Neera Arya. So, with no ado, let's go and meet her. Come on, let's go. She is in Hyderabad, so we are going there to meet her. Pedama, here we come. Pedama, here I come. Neera Arya, Pedama, here I come. Pedama, look to your right. Look to your left. Do you see anyone there? White sari with a nose ring and with a sparkle in her eyes. Right, left. Padma, where are you? I saw her. She is selling flowers out there. Padma, Neera Arya, here I come. Padma. Hello, Padma. Hi. You came to buy flowers from me? No. I do not want your flowers. Then what do you want from me? You want something else? You want these flowers? No, Pedama. I want to hear your life story. How you came here all the way from your birthplace in Uttar Pradesh. Oh, so you've not come for flowers. You've come to get a story about my life. Yes, Padma. Okay, here it goes. Namaste. My name is Neera Arya. I was born in the Kekda Nagar of Bagpat in Uttar Pradesh on 5th March 1902. You see, my father was a very prominent businessman in those days. He had business across India. And slowly, after a few years in Bagpat, my dad and my brother and I, we all moved to Calcutta because my dad was making Calcutta his headquarters of business. So we moved to Calcutta. My brother Vasant and I used to always keep talking about ways by which we could contribute for the freedom struggle, you see. So we used to attend political rallies, meetings, whatever we could, we did. And it was in Calcutta that our education happened, and I picked up so many languages. I picked up English, Hindi, Urdu, Bengali, Marathi, Gujarati, and not only languages, whatever skill I could learn, I learned that too. And then we continued thinking of how we could contribute. We attended every political meeting, every rally, and we were there to support India's struggle for her independence. And then, you know what? One day we met the great revolutionary Bhagat Singh. Oh, I still remember that day. His conviction of thought and his patriotism just made us more persistent to do something about India's freedom. And sadly, we got to know about his hanging too. That shook us a lot. So, time just passed by. One day, we were walking along the beach. Vasant and I, we were discussing of what more we could do than just participate in rallies or write speeches. What could be done? We were just talking and walking when a huge wave came and just engulfed me and pulled me into the sea. I struggled. I tried to swim and come out, but the current was just too strong. Even my brother wasn't came in. He tried to pull me out, but it just could not happen. The current was just too strong and the waves kept lashing. After some time, I felt myself being dragged to the shore. I was sure it was my brother Vasant. After regaining my composure, I slowly opened my eyes. And there I saw two kind eyes looking at me and the strong hands that had pulled me to the shore. Standing there was none other than Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. And that day I got another brother for life. Vasant and I, we both joined the Azad Hind Fauj, the INA or the Indian National Army. We felt so good. We took pride in joining the INA. And you know what came as the icing on the cake? Looking at my commitment and the way I did things and my patriotism, Netaji appointed me as the first woman undercover or spy in the INA. Oh my God, what a moment it was! I felt so proud. I felt that the purpose in my life was actually achieved. I was actually doing something for India's struggle for freedom. Along with me, two other girls who were younger than me were also appointed as undercovers. One was Saraswati Rajamani and the other one was Durga Gorak. And so we started on our jobs. That was not only adventurous but also very interesting. So we used to go to the British camps dressed up as boys, and we used to ask them for letting us in, and we used to ask them to give us work. That is what we did. So we went to each of the camp and we spoke at length. साहब काम दीजिए हमें, हम कुछ भी करेंगे, हमें काम दीजिए. We begged, we pleaded very carefully and very cautiously, only in Hindi. We did not want them to know that we knew English. And then once we got appointed, we went inside and we did all the jobs they told us. What did we not do? Right from cleaning of the vessels to cutting vegetables to cleaning bathrooms to scrubbing their backs to folding their clothes to washing their clothes. And our backs was also used as footboard at times for them to climb onto their carriage. Yes, we did everything with our eyes and ears fully open, soaking in every bit of information which we could pick up from there. And immediately we would go at night and report them to Netaji in the base camp. So life continued like this, and we contributed many a piece of information. And during training, it was very clearly told to us that the moment we get caught or identified, we should give up our lives. And no, I did not get caught. I will tell you, listen. One day, Durga Mal got caught. And by the time she could push the dagger into her stomach and take her life, they pulled the dagger from her hand and they pulled her and locked her up in a room. And she was supposed to face trial the next day. Now, this was a very dangerous situation. An Indian undercover in the hands of the enemy with no weapon in hand and facing a trial the next day. Something had to be done. I planned out things with Saraswati. Early next morning, at the gates of the British camp, we stood there dressed as hijra dancers, and we danced and we danced, we sang, we turned, we twirled our dresses, and we had all the officers by the end of afternoon dancing to our tunes. And after that, we mixed a nice intoxicant and we gave all the officers, and they all went unconscious and bizarre. Yes, part one of our plan successful. Now we went into the camp and we searched frantically for where Durga was being locked up. We found Durga, and the three of us came running out of the camp. There was, however, one downside of the entire plan. We had only made the officers inside unconscious, but there were so many guards and hundreds of soldiers who were outside the building. And they caught us, in the sense they saw us. They saw us running, and the guards raised an alarm. They started chasing us. They fired, and the bullet went and hit Saraswati's right leg. We continued running. The three of us just ran as fast as our legs could take us, with the big army of men behind us. And then after a distance, we climbed up a tree and we sat among the branches of a tree. The search operation was continuing in full fury. The soldiers kept shooting in the air. Thankfully, No one looked up. The army of men spread across in all directions, and they kept searching. They kept poking every bush. They kept peeping into hollow trunks and blocks, and they searched behind rocks, and they searched every nook and corner in the entire area. They kept firing too. An hour passed. Yet another hour passed. Yet another hour passed. 4 hours. 5 hours. 24 hours passed. A day had gone, and even then the search operation was still on. At the foot of our tree were so many men searching. Thankfully, we were well hidden because the branches were quite thick. And the operation continued. Fresh set of soldiers came. The operation's intensity grew. Hours kept passing by. 48 hours. 2 days had gone, and we were still there. And from there, we looked at all the people searching for us frantically. We didn't know whether to laugh or to cry, but we were just sitting there in the hope that no one just looked up. Another day passed. 72 hours passed. 3 days had gone, and finally the operation of our search was aborted. Once all the soldiers went back into the camp, and we looked for quite some time, and we made sure that it was safe for us to get down, we got down from the tree after 3 days. No food, no water, no answering nature's calls, with ants biting us and insects buzzing all around and the leaves tickling us. We had managed to sit 3 days on that tree just to escape being caught by the British. And then, in the darkness of the night, after 3 days, we silently got down and we ran to the base camp and we reported to Netaji all that had happened. And you know what? Netaji appointed me, Neera Arya, as the captain of the Jhansi regiment of INA. Oh my God. I felt I was blessed and my birth had seen its purpose. And Saraswati Rajamani was made the lieutenant of the Jhansi regiment. Oh, that was another moment of pride. Minute. Meanwhile, my father, very dutifully, he had arranged for my wedding. I've got married to one Mr. Shrikant Jayaranjan Das. So, after our wedding is when we both came to know of what each of us were doing. He, Shrikant Jayaranjan Das, was a CID inspector in the British Army. And you know what his task was at that time? As bizarre it might sound, his task then was to spy on Netaji and shoot him the very moment he spotted him. And me on the other side, he came to know that I was an undercover in the INA. That was it. Two different people staying under a roof, very different personalities and loyalties based in two different places, which were so diametrically opposite each other. I was a die-hard Indian nationalist, while he was a British loyal. Sparks flew in the house. Discussions, arguments were plenty, and we both started spying on each other. We got very secretive of what we were doing and became very, very cautious about the words which came out from our mouths. That was how our marriage life was. One day, he said that we would be traveling to Singapore. I very well knew that Netaji was in Singapore at that time. But trust me, I did not have the slightest idea that even he knew that Netaji was in Singapore. So we went there to Singapore and we went right to the place where Netaji was. He pulled out his pistol the moment he saw Netaji. I immediately raised an alarm. Netaji just slightly moved and the bullet hit the driver. That was it. He had pulled the last straw. I pulled out my dagger immediately and I stabbed Inspector Shrikant Jayaranjan Das to death. So Netaji, he was seeing all this and he was surprised and he praised my commitment to India and he conferred upon me the title of Nagin. And ever since then, I have been known as Neera Nagin. And then I came back to India. In 1945, the INA was surrendered. All the people underwent trials at the Red Fort. Majority of them were released. My brother was also released. However, they arrested those people who had charges against them. And I, of course, the Indian in undercover who murdered the CID inspector of the British Army, I was put in the Calcutta jail. And after some time, I was being shifted to the Kalapani jail in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. That very jail whose every block, every brick, every cell, every corridor has been a silent witness to the humongous atrocities and barbaric acts the Britishers had inflicted on the Indian prisoners. I was being shipped there and I reached the jail. I was pushed into a tiny cell. It was around 10 o'clock. It was very cold. My heart just wept thinking how I could free India. Being here, I was far away from my motherland. My heart ached. With these thoughts in my mind, I just went off to sleep. After some time, I felt something being flung at me. Oh, it was a blanket. Yes, my sleep did get cut, but I was thankful that I got a blanket. And then I slept. There in the jail, we were given two bowls, one for food and one for toilet. You know what? We couldn't even release ourselves at night without permission. That was the level of torture given. They gave me water. It was so damn infected and full of worms. I just threw it away. The next day morning, I was given khichdi. Better not to talk about the khichdi. Yes, and then a blacksmith came. He had to remove the shackles or loosen the shackles which were around my wrists and my ankles so that I could get to work. So he came and he was cutting the shackles around my wrists. And as he was doing that, he scraped my skin twice. Oh, it was horrible, but I just bit my tongue and bore the pain. After the shackles were loosened, it was now time to remove the shackles, or rather loosen the shackles on my legs. He took a big hammer and he hammered the iron shackle twice. And after that, he continuously started hitting my bones on the leg. I looked at him and I said, "Are you blind? Can't you see where the shackles are? Why are you hitting my leg?" For which he said, "You are a prisoner here. If I want, and I can even hit you on your head with the hammer." He said. Now this was too much for me. I spat on his face and I said, "Learn to respect women." Now, the jailer was standing there. He was just passing by. He stood there and he watched this and he came towards me. And he came and said, "Neera Arya, you know what? I can get you released. These iron shackles, this jail, you can get out of everything. Just tell us one thing. If you could tell us where Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose is, I will let you free. You are free to go anywhere in this world." I smiled and I said, "The entire world knows Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose died in that plane crash." Hey, you don't try to act smart. That news is a fake. You also know and I also know. And you being the undercover in INA, I'm sure you know where he is hiding. If you tell me where he is, I repeat, I will let you free, no torture at all. Oh, really? You want to know where Netaji is? He continues to live in the minds of people. He is in my heart. Hearing that, the jailer couldn't take it anymore. He said, "Oh, Netaji is in your heart, so let us get him out from there now." He looked at the blacksmith and he said, "Take that ripper and chop her breast off." The jailer touched me inappropriately. He pulled my dress, and the blacksmith with the ripper, he started cutting my breast. The pain was accelerating. The physical pain was definitely too much to bear, but my mental stamina only grew. I said, "Come what may, I will not open my mouth." Meanwhile, as the blacksmith was cutting, the jailer pulled my hair back and he said, "You dare talk back again, I will cut your other breast also." I just stared at him. He picked up a tweezer from the blacksmith's kit and he threw it at my face, which hurt my nose. And he just walked off. And he said, "Thank your stars, the tools are not hot." The blacksmith also, after a failed attempt of mutilation, he just walked away. I lay there bleeding, but with a more renewed courage. I decided, even though I am far from my motherland, I would not let these British officers rest in peace even for a day inside the jail. Gatherings were not allowed. I used to do that. I used to call people. I used to tell them to protest. I used to tell them to revolt for every small thing. I made sure there was no peace inside the jail. Whatever they told or they tried to implement, I used to break that. And the 2 years from 1945 to 1947 continued that way. Many times, even after that day, the jailer used to come and ask about the whereabouts of Netaji. And do you think I opened my mouth? No. And on 15th August 1947, we heard the great news that India had become independent. After that, all the prisoners in the jail were shipped back to India. The moment the ship reached the eastern coast near Hyderabad, before I could put my foot down, I prostrated and then stepped on my country. My motherland was free now. And that is how, you see, fuzzy buzzy, my life was. My journey, which started in the Kekda Nagar in Bagpat in Uttar Pradesh and went on to Calcutta, to Andaman, and then to Falaknuma in Hyderabad, where now I'm selling flowers happily. My cottage is just behind. It's a small cottage. Please do come. That was so inspiring. Salute to you, Neera Arya, Pedama. Okay, that's all for my motherland, my country, my mother, India. Vande Mataram. Thank you.
Vande Mataram. Thank you, Mangalam, for bringing this inspiring story in such an interesting manner. There were so many moments in the story where we could actually feel what she must have gone through. So thank you once again for bringing Neera Arya here. So there's something you had mentioned while you were saying, my birth has met its purpose when Netaji made her the captain, and that is just resonating with me. And the scene in the start where you talked about when she was drowning and he pulls her out, it's such a metaphor. So tell me what you felt. I mean, like that was like a rebirth for her, and this was a cause that she was going to do. But how was the story and for you when you visited it?
For me, it was like a story about patriotism and courage. I mean, you can be patriotic, but to do, you need courage.
Absolutely.
That actually stood out, and her focus,
Very clear.
very clear. I want to save India. So you can be my brother, my husband, whatever that relationship is. But what is beneficial for India, that is all that I would do. That focus, that commitment actually gave me goosebumps actually when I read her story.
True. And having to put the dragger in her own husband, and
Yes.
that was a moment, I'm sure, which so then talking about her the jail in Andaman, the torture that she went through, and then the journey from there back once she was released, and towards the end as a flower seller. I mean, for me, that was, when you shared the story, it was something very difficult to. How was her end? I mean, if you can share it with the audience, I'm sure.
Yes, she lived till a ripe age of 96. On 26th July 1998, she passed away after a brief illness. She was in the government hospital. No one was there around to take care of her. And after her demise, just a couple of reporters actually performed her last rites. That was her last moments.
What a life.
Seriously.
Yeah. So we'll share a few more glimpses about her. Let's do that.
Yes.
That's Neera Arya. देश की पहली महिला जासूस, and that's what I was thinking. What a spy thriller this is. Yeah, jasoos mahila. Amazing. So this is her in uniform. Is it which?
The second one.
Second one. Okay.
The one in front is Saraswati.
Okay. That was an amazing story. in itself. The
Yeah,
journey that they had and how they sat on the tree for so many days.
for 3 days, yes. I mean, what are these women made of? That is what I was thinking.
And that's something that, we feel at each and every story when we look at the unsung heroes and we think, what are these people made of? How did they do what they did? And it's so inspiring for us to lead our lives today and what we can do. Think about that. Yeah. You want to share something about this, Mangalam? So,
Yeah, so
Jayanti.
made the captain there after that adventure, 3 day adventure on the tree and saving Durgamal, Gorakha from the hands of British. So that is the picture on the right, and the left, the picture says it all. The torture she experienced in the Andamans, so that they could pull out information about the whereabouts of Netaji.
So she was called Nagini after that incident by him.
Yes, Nagin, yeah.
This is another article about her in Hindi. Okay. So there is a Jayanti celebrated on her name on 5th of March.
So this book also has her story.
Jasus Mahilaएं.
Khatarnak Mahila Jasus. That Khatarnak.
Khatarnak.
Yes.
I would love to know more about the other Khatarnak Jasus as well. These are the shackles that.
Yeah. And that's the
Andaman ji.
jail which everyone dreads.
Hmm. Thank you once again for bringing this story. And with that, I would like to invite everyone who's here to please join in and share your thoughts as well. Janki ma'am.
Thank you, Mangalam, for bringing out a story of courage. I think what comes across is, first of all, Sarita, I think what a wonderful initiative. With this, you're actually, HSPA with Itihaas Ke Pannon Se is bringing about, it's like a revival of sorts, but in a very, very different manner of all those people whom we don't know about. So it's like, we've taken so many things for granted. That's what I got from this, misery and all. And now, a single little thing that we do, we put it on social media saying we've done that, or we've this thing. I mean, it goes back to the trailer that she made, Mangalam, about what would have happened if there was social media then. And thank God for social media now, and for initiatives such as this, where we are able to understand and appreciate, because these are few people might be watching now, many will watch it later, but it's there now as part of your archives. And it is something that we can go back, refer to. We see, we don't have the time, none of us have the time, including all of us, because we're doing this for an initiative and it's there. And these are tales that need to be shared. These are tales that need to be told, and very beautifully told, Mangalam. And
Thank you
and
so
I
much.
love the metaphors, just like Sarita was saying. That metaphor of pulling her out, and who chose to pull her. Where I was wondering, if somebody else had pulled her out of the water, would it have had? Maybe she would have continued doing. But then, when you hero worship somebody, and the same
Exactly.
person comes, it's like, we are all constantly looking for signs. So this is like 2 + 2 = 4, and that is it. I'm made for this role, is what. So I think, thank you so much. I think it brought about so many memories of, what could have had. One has always listened to your great grandfathers, grandmothers, and people who say, we did this during freedom cycle, whatever. I mean, they did not do anything directly, but indirectly by singing hymns or poems. So, when you say these stories, you feel a lot of intimacy with those people people who are already at your home and you say, this is what, I mean, if we are feeling the way we are feeling now, imagine what they would have felt when they were actually going through the struggle. So thank you so much. Great initiative once again, Sarita. And thank you, Mangalam, for sharing this story.
Thank you so much, Janki.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes. Please feel free to share what you felt.
Yeah, same, like, thanks Sarita for taking this initiative to, bring these stories which are hidden, hardly, I don't know, like maybe those days, the pre-independence people, or, 50s and all, till then people may have probably heard of these people and all. Even I have not heard, never. So thanks for taking this initiative to bring out these stories. And not only we, our next generation, the children, everyone will be now, listening to these and knowing about it. And as usual, Mangalam's presentation of the story was very inspiring. So many goosebump moments. She brought the situation in front of our eyes, what Nirarya went through. So it was a really very good session. And thanks to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Shri, you want to say something?
Yeah, Sarita, I have been on HSPA journey right from the start. And every time I feel, oh my God, I mean, like, this is like what all she went through, killing her own husband and that breast mutilation. Oh my God, how much courage this lady has. Every episode, people are having courage, but this lady especially hasn't surpassed everybody else. And so,
Yeah, you're so right, Shri. That's okay. That's okay. Not a problem. So thank you for your thoughts on that. And yes, thank you for being there from the start, Shri. And like she said, yes, every story we find there's something about the personality that is so, amazing, and it leaves us in awe. We have others also. Please feel free to share your thoughts, even if you don't want to switch on the video. I would just like to invite you all, Lavanya and the others who are here.
Oh, hi, Sarita. I'm in no words, just like, Shri and Janaki. It is very, very, it's a very intimate story, I feel, because, it's our motherland. It's the same for each one of us. She might be the person sitting there and telling the story, but we could feel it. We could feel it all. And Mangalam, wow, absolutely. The background is is kind of showing what her present time is, like a Pedama, she's selling flowers and vegetables and all that. But the colors there, the orange and the green of the vegetables and the orange and the flowers remind us of the country, of our flag. And, somehow that was so beautiful. I felt it kind of, I don't know whether you planned it, Mangalam, but it just fit so beautifully.
No, because I knew I would be in white, I picked up the orange.
Yeah, orange and the greens behind you,
That was a coincidence, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you do something so dil se, these kind of things fall in place and happen. They just give that beautiful touch to it. Very warm and emotional indeed. Another thing I wanted to tell you, Mangalam, that the story, the backdrop, the context is very familiar. Itihaas Ke Pannon Se is always about the past, but it can be such a contemporary story. The jasusi in that, and so exciting, it can pass off for any Hollywood or anything. Absolutely. And I've heard stories of freedom movement and women participating in it. So powerful stories, such powerful stories we have heard. But here, I think I'm just watching some story right in the army of Subhash Chandra Bose. Yeah. Others have been in khadi saris and nothing to, not to belittle them, but they all were stereotypes. Each one really great. They were all just the manifestations like the Shakti, different forms. Each one was so powerful, not to take away from any single person. But here, this woman, my God, she was, thank you. I mean, I will go on and on.
Made of something else, and it makes us want to read more about her and know her more.
Absolutely. And one question, Mangalam, how much research did you do, and how did you have to, pick up those threads of the past, and what did you do? I saw that there were newspaper clippings and photographs and all that. So what is the research work that you put behind the story? That is
the amount of knowledge in English about her was very less. So I went through old newspaper articles, and articles which were written in Hindi were actually more, which I looked into. And so then, in fact, Sarita and I were discussing yesterday. I mean, did she not know that he was a British army official? Why did they, after all, get married? I said, okay, might be it just happened. And then I kept reading. So, I mean, from each article, I got one thread actually. Two other ladies being appointed, I actually read that in Saraswati Rajamani's article. That she was appointed with two others, one elder and one younger to her. And then I connected that. Okay, so the elder one was Neera Arya, who she mentioned. And Saraswati's article was where it was written that Durga had been caught, and we both devised a plan and we got her out. So from there I pulled in that part.
wow.
And, yes, so information available on her is very limited. So I had to read in little bit from Saraswati Rajamani, Lakshmi Saigal, and little bit from the INA, and what happened during the INA trials at Red Fort. So from there, I started noting down from everything, and then I formed a thing. And in fact, even today morning, I was digging. I was like, anything else. So today morning is when I actually knew that they came to know their professions only after the wedding, and I was like, that moment, for me.
And the moment you messaged that to me, I was like, oh no.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So Lavanya, just to add on to that, in fact, that's something we've realized in every story that we did. We've done so far around 26, 28. That it's not easy to get information about these, though it looks like the story is, for all of them and for all of us, there's a lot of work that goes into each and every story. And many of us have spoken to people, because sometimes it's just not available on the as a secondary research.
Very true. They're being unsung heroes. I mean, we have to pick and from wherever we can and then put the thread together.
And like you said, when we do something with an intention, the universe also gets certain people in your life who lead you to those characters. And that has happened so much on Itihaas Ke Pannon Se. She will agree, always say there's magic here. And I'm sure each and every teller would have experienced that while working on the story. So yes, so thank you everyone for joining in this evening and for being so supportive. And with that, we will just take a leave from the Facebook Live. So thank you all for joining us this evening on Itihaas Ke Pannon Se. Please do continue to share, follow, and these stories, like Janki ma'am said, need to be told. One of the reasons it is made freely available on Facebook is for that very reason. These stories motivate us, inspire us in our life as well. And that's our intention to do that. So do share, like, subscribe, and keep watching, keep encouraging. Do write in with the comments and your guesses. That really keeps me going here. So with that, thank you, and see you next Friday for another story of an unsung hero and Itihaas Ke Pannon Se.